Come on in. Come on in. Welcome to the live pitch workshop where we listen to creatives pitch their films, TV series, podcasts, digital content, whatever they got, we listen. I help workshop their projects and strengthen their pitches. And I interview industry experts who share their experience and their wise words for us. Tonight's guest is what we like to call in the industry a working writer. Charla Lauriston is a sharp, witty comedy writer. She's also an actress, director, podcast host, and collectively her work is satirical, culturally astute, and might I say, damn funny, which makes sense because Charla started out in politics, albeit a short stint. It was long enough for her to flex her brain power and then get the hell out. She's since lent her talents to some very clever shows. The last O.G. starring Tracey Morgan and Tiffany Hadish, Grand Crew, a show on NBC that should have gotten more seasons, in my personal humble opinion, Ghosted, the 2018 comedy starring Craig Robinson and Adam Scott, and all while creating, writing, and directing her own projects, Clench and Release, Witchersters, which are two very funny episodic series that you can find on YouTube. Please welcome Charla Lauriston.
Hey guys.
Hi, whoa! Insert applause. So, Charla, I know we already have one person in the comments. Hi, Mo. How are you? So I just like to start out with some questions. It's very conversational around here, but usually it takes a question or two to get us kind of in the flow of things. So my first question is, when did you know creating, writing, producing, etc. was the direction you wanted to go in?
You know what? I like to say that I was kind of like forced into this profession because it's like it's not necessarily that I knew, it's more that I hated everything else. And
yes,
this kind of felt like I was pulled towards it, like I didn't really as a matter of fact, I think, the Haitian in me would love a stable life and a stable career. And of course, that's not what I had to do. My mom wanted me to be a nurse. And I said, nope, I'm going to do literally the thing that is the most unpredictable, all
the
my
most chaotic.
Yes, most chaotic. So I almost
consistent work. No.
Yeah.
No, I understand you on that. For me, it was more about I'm the eldest in a single parent household. So control and bossiness, organization, bending to my will. Those are things that I grew up
That
loving.
Makes you a producer and a director, not necessarily a writer, but
no. When I found the concept of producing before I realized it could be a job, I was like, wait, so you mean to tell me I look at this script and then I tell everybody what to do around this? Got it. Best job ever.
I agree 100%.
Right. Because when it works out, it is like the biggest high, the biggest
when
rush.
I'm in charge, it works out. It works out.
As the kids say, clock it, honey, clock it. As the kids say. Okay, so we sort of forced into it, sort of eliminated everything else. So that's interesting. So the other thing is, this industry is so unstable. Like it has always been. That's the nature of it. It is very unstable now. And I find lots of us are making podcasts. Lots of us are doing lots of creative 100%. Things to stay afloat. But it's also kind of inspiring to some of my students because they want to pitch their series. And pitching a series is tough. And you can often hear, go make it and we'll acquire it. Or maybe if this has established IP, right? So our class is full of people who want to create their own projects. You created your own YouTube series in 2014, Clench and Release, which is hilarious. And I know you probably get that like in a generic way all the time, but I really I was laughing out loud and I did not know what to expect. So I was like, wait, where are we going with this? Oh, got it. So how did you decide or come to the idea or the choices that it would be a web series, that was the right place for it and the right choice for it?
Yeah, I at the time I was in New York City. I was doing stand-up and improv. I was working full-time. I was burning the candle at both ends. I really was trying to get this career going stat because I'm exhausted. You know, I can't do it forever. And I was, you know, I was in a improv team with people um who, so first I'll say that at the time Awkward Black Girl had come out.
Yes.
Broad
We
City
love.
had come out. So if you know Abby and
Yes.
Alana and Broad City, so right ahead of me were these people who were putting out web series. And when I saw it, I was like, I could do that. I could do a web series. I have an idea, and I had an idea for my improv team, and I brought it to my improv team. And nobody wanted to do it. Everybody was giving me pushback. Everybody was giving me reasons why we can't. And I was like, all right, good. Don't do it. I'm gonna go. I came up with an idea for myself that was, you know, based around my stand-up, because I was really trying to use what I already have. Like, I'm a big believer in using what you already have. And like, I was trying to do it as cheap as possible. And a lot of the way that the web series came out was just literally budget consideration, time constraints, like literally production constraints. And so I came up with 4 episodes because I was like, I feel like 5 feels like a little too much, like more than like people were like doing like 8 episodes, and I'm like, let me 4. It's like, if I can't do 4, I can't do nothing, girl. Like if I can't, so let me do the bare minimum. I was like, I can do 4 episodes. I can do 5 minutes an episode. You know, that's literally how I was doing it. I was just like, and I came up with sketches around my stand-up, and I came up with a narrative thread because I like narrative. I like seeing stories progress. I don't, you know, I love sketch as well, but I'm, you know, I love a narrative. I want to watch a story and it keeps people watching to the next episode. And so I'm just a practical, you know, you said you're the oldest of a single parent household. I have a twin sister. We're the oldest of a Caribbean household. So, you know, we're basically co-parents and like,
girl.
so I definitely the same producer, director, I'm in charge mindset. I'm very practical. I'm very like, use what I got. I'm very like, make it work. We got to make it work because I can't do this 9-to-5 job I'm in. I'm not loving it. I don't like the trajectory of the other people that I see in these jobs. They're not happy either. Even if it's more stable, they're not happy either. So like, it was truly, I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing. I was literally just going with what my interests and desires were in the moment, and like pushing it as far as possible, because I just had a real sense of urgency because I was broke and I hated my job. I was trying to make it happen.
Girl, can I tell, in this industry, that's how most things are born. That's how most things are born.
And I think it's wonderful for the people that are just like auteurs and they just have this art that they just want to put out. I'm like, bitch, I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to live and enjoy what I do and be happy. And I am creative and I do like to create, and I do feel an almost compulsion to create, the compulsion to, you know, when I was doing stand-up, that was compulsive. Like a lot of this stuff, I don't feel like I'm choosing really. Like I feel like I'm just,
the art has chosen you.
It's chosen me. You know,
that's you're the intercessor for the art.
Exactly. And I'm just a channeling. It's coming from God, and I'm doing it. And who am I to fight with God?
Push it out. Exactly. Just
who am
push
I?
it out. Push it out. Okay. Yeah. I tell you. No, I used to get in trouble a lot when I was at the Dr. Phil show, because I have that mentality. Like I have like, oh, it's not me. It comes through me. I push it out. And for talk shows, you have 7 segments, right? And so every segment is scripted out except for the 7th. The 7th is just, hey, thank you for watching. Go to the news. But I used to take segment 3, which is a very crucial segment, and I wouldn't book anything. I wouldn't have anything scripted. I'd be like, no, we're going to leave it open. And Phil, every other week, he's like, what's in segment 3? I was like, nothing. He's like, you can't hand me an empty script. I'm like, I'm leaving room for God. Like, I'm leaving room for God. And he would be like, what? I don't understand. I was like, neither do I. Neither do I. But here's the thing. Whenever I leave room for God, when I leave that segment blank, I don't book anything. This whole show turns into 2 parts. It turns into 1 show becomes 2 shows. And he could never argue with it because it always happens. Every episode turned into 2 highly rated sweep shows that had a part 1, a part 2, continue, come back next Tuesday to watch. Like, so I agree with you 100%. Sometimes you're not in charge of it. You just got to show up, do it. Also work hard.
Yes, of course.
Also definitely work hard, but also just go, hey, I did what I can do.
Yeah.
Now we're just gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it
Yeah.
go. And that might be a lesson I learned as the oldest because I can only boss these kids around so much, mom and
Yeah.
dad, okay? Because
Mhm.
they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen
Yeah.
to their parents. And
Yeah.
it's like, you're not their parent.
Right.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I changed their diapers, whatever. Okay, so along those same lines, you wrote and directed your own series, Witchersters, which also fun. Also, I was like, wait, I had no idea where we were going with this. And so I started watching it and I was like,
Bad.
I was like, this is funny. I was like, it's so good. And was your sister acting in that?
Yeah, that's my sister.
Okay, because you guys obviously look alike. And I was like, wait, is that Charlotte? But it's not.
That's so crazy because I
but it
don't think
is,
we
but
look
it's
alike at
not.
all. That's crazy.
The fact that you just told me you're twins makes me feel
Yeah.
less crazy. I
So
was
that's
like,
not my twin. That's why I'm like, that's my little sister and my actual twin sister. My twin sister was in Clench and Release, so she was in Clench and she's in season 2. I'm pretty sure.
okay.
Yes, not in season 1, but like, yeah, that was my little sister in Witchersters. So that's crazy.
So...
I'm like, you look alike.
No, you guys look. I was like, this is Charlotte, but it's not. I'm sure if I knew you guys in person, I'd like they look nothing alike.
Tall and gangly, and I'm like short and stout.
No. I knew that was kinfolk. I was like,
that's kinfolk.
Is
that's
that
not,
Charlotte?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but no, hilarious. And if you guys have not watched Witchersters, please go watch it. It's absolutely funny. It's like, I think what we all want Tia and Tamara to be when they did their Twitches. We wanted, this is what we wanted instead. This is it.
Yeah, so actually Witchersters came about because I was working on a remake of Twitches with Netflix and Imagine Kids and Family. And it ended up not working out. Like they ended up not buying it. But I was like, oh, what would Twitches look like if it was something that I would actually be watching? Because it was like more for kids, the one we were working on. But I was like, if it was like mature and Black, I was like, what would
it would be this? It would be exactly what I watched. Yes.
But I only did one episode because it was expensive, and I was like, I got to figure out a way to do this. I'm not good at raising money yet, so that's still something that I, have to get better at.
Talk to me. I have no problem asking people for money. No,
I struggle to ask for money. It's really sad. Don't be like me. Ask for money.
Charlotte, I tell the students every week. I have no problem. Asking. I'm like, hey, I need $10,000. So someone in this room is going to work.
Give me that gift because I'm not good at it still.
But
I'll get better at it. I'm calling it in. I'm gonna get better.
Yes. We are manifesting this for you.
Manifesting the shit out of some money. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I know. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the process of filming Twitches, Lord
Witchersters.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Witchersters. Tell me the process in filming that. Was that the same as Clench and Release? Was that like, hey, I gathered up what I could when I could and we did this and developed it out? Or what was that process like?
I would say that the process, I feel like I'm a very guerrilla filmmaker, like, because I'm always on a shoestring budget and I'm always, like, can you be a little bit more specific? Because the whole process, or what do you mean specifically?
Well, I mean, like, so did you write the script out and then take that script and then you start developing it from there, locking in locations, like some more of the practical steps that you did?
I always if I feel like, when I get to the point where I feel like the idea is strong enough, meaning that like the bones are there, even if some dialogue changes, even if some scenes change, it's funny, it has a clear narrative. Once I get to that point, I start producing. Like, I don't need it to be perfect. I don't need it to be perfect because it'll always change. After the table read, I'll do a table read with the actors. Like, so let me just say what I'll do. After I get to a point where I think the writing is structurally strong enough, meaning that like I like it and I'm always my first line of defense. If I don't like it, it doesn't go anywhere because I am the like if you as a creator don't like it, it's not
Then don't do it.
going anywhere. Don't do
Yeah.
it. Like you are the decider. So like
Yeah.
after I like it, after I think it's structurally strong enough, and you know, I'm a professional writer, so I know things will always change, dialogue will change, scenes will change.
Mhm.
I start producing. I start looking for I start looking for a DP, a director of photography. I
Okay.
start thinking I'm always writing with actors in mind because I've been in the comedy scene for a long time. So I know a lot of writers, I know a lot of actors, and I see a lot of comedians. So it's like I'm always writing with people in mind anyway. So the casting I feel is always really easy for me because I'm always seeing people perform. And so I will literally start, you know, I'll get a DP if their schedule works with mine, we'll get a calendar together. I usually try to do like 3 months out because I feel like, you know, any more than 3 months, then I feel like the project could lose momentum. I'm a
Mhm.
person that works well with urgency and with like
Same.
speed. So
Yeah.
like the faster we can get this going, you know what I mean, the better. And like so after I got my DP, we set a date. I got my, you know, I got my actors. Then I start working backwards from that date of shooting. I get my actors together. We do a first read, a table read. We don't necessarily we you know, like for Witchersters, we had a really like small crew. It was literally like 4 or 5 of us. It was
Mhm.
Jemima, my sister, my friend Sasha Compare, who played Maya, and it was the DP, it was a sound person, it was me. So it was really small, and we used my landlord's apartment. He was traveling at the time, so we used his apartment. We
Love.
did like we did a short rehearsal for like you know, blocking, like literally where you're going to be standing, where the camera is going to be, how we're going to be shooting it. So we did a short rehearsal for that. Um and of course, I also like this was my first time directing, so I got to actually plan out the shots. So that was really fun. The DP I worked with ended up kind of wanting to be a director too. That was a little bit annoying, and I knew that for the next time. That like sometimes you're working with a DP who also wants to be a director, and you got to
You're
remind this
like,
person that
no,
this you're
no,
not the director, sir.
that's
But
not
thank
your
you.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
And
for showing up, but
thank
only
you.
one. Only
Yeah.
one. Thank you.
And this DP also said that they were really good with special effects, and they ended up not being quite good. Ended up actually being like quite like rudimentary or like very basic
Ooh.
effects, which, you know, you can see that in the final product. It really looks very like, I think it looks like so basic. It looks like he did it with like a MacBook, like like the editing software that comes with your MacBook. But again, you know, so there's always, so you know, I was on a budget, and this person did it within my budget. I still spent like 5 grand on that one episode, which a lot, the lion's share of that money went to the DP because he also edited and stuff. So I just kind of felt like I made some
Mhm.
mistakes, I feel, looking back with Witchsters, but I hadn't done a project since um I had not done a project by myself since Clench and Release, which is like almost 10 years ago now at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it kind of just felt like I was like, and it was the first time that I directed. So I just felt like I was kind of getting back into the doing solo projects. Yeah, so I thought ultimately it was good, but I thought I spent too much on it, and I thought on one
Well,
episode,
first of
yeah.
all, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So don't downplay that. It was really good. But I think it's important to hear all that, especially for like our students watching, because guerrilla style filming and really getting down to like the necessities of what you need to make something happen, I think is like, it's just like a rite of passage for production, and the dedication to wanting to get something out. You have
Yeah,
to have that. If you don't have that in this industry, you're in the wrong industry. You
yeah,
just are. You have to be hungry to get it out. You have to be passionate about getting it out. You have to be. If you're not, it's going to be a long, rough road because it's hard and rough already.
It
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I know we like to glamorize, people like to glamorize our industry, but it's rough. It's
I
rough.
think it's been a lot less. I think a lot more honesty and the truth of the industry has come out in recent years. I think,
With the
you
writer
know,
strike for sure.
exactly. I think people have
Yeah.
a much are going in much more clear-eyed than they used
Mhm.
to be in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great, but I think it's worth noting too. Just sometimes that's what you got to do. You have a 5-person team, and you're gonna make your art. You have a
Yeah.
passion for it. You're gonna do it, and it's really important for people to have that, um, because sometimes they don't. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about like some of the shows that you've worked on,
Mhm.
and the writing process in general. Like most people in here, they're in the class because they they want to learn about production in general. They want to know specifically how to pitch their projects. But a lot of people in this group are writers, and they have some pretty great stuff. Like their homework consists of them writing a lot and starting on their pitch deck. So there are some brilliant writers in here. They always wonder what a writer's room looks like, what it
Yeah.
feels like. So can you kind of talk to us a little bit about what that was like? And if you need like a specific show, Last OG, a lot of them were
Sure.
talking about. So
Yeah.
what was sort of the writer's room? What did that look like for that show?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I would say that for the I've only worked in comedy rooms, and
Mhm.
so these are half-hour comedies, and I would say that almost every room worked pretty much the same, whereas the first 2 weeks of the room, we're doing what's called blue skying, and I do a half hour TV writing class, pilot writing class, where I teach the pilot writing in the same structure that a TV writer's room would. So anyway,
Mhm.
the first 2 weeks of the room is usually a blue
Charlotte,
sky.
do you want to? I would love for you to say that again so they know.
Yeah,
Where can they go? Where can they find it?
yeah. It's called Zero to Pilot, and the class is not up now. I just opened up the class, so you'll have to wait until the next round for the class. But it's called Zero to Pilot, and I'm teaching you how to write your pilot. Um, and anyway, so the first 2 weeks of the room is the blue sky period, and I think that every writer should have this kind of blue sky period. I do it and it doesn't have to be 2 weeks for you personally. It could be a month. It could be a weekend. Where you
Mhm.
literally think broadly about the characters, the you think about the I'm blanking. You think about the story arcs, the character arcs. You think about jokes or story ideas, like literally really broad thinking about the show in general, potential episode ideas. And then we come in every day during this period and we're just pitching like crazy. Everybody usually comes in with like 5 to 10 pitches on either its episode ideas or its story arc ideas or its character ideas or its specific stories for characters. You know what I mean? So it's just like
Mhm.
all kinds of pitches, and we're just amassing a war chest of pitches. And then after that, in the writer's room, I would say that a writer's room is like a fast moving train. Like it moves so quickly because most of the rooms I've been in are like 20 weeks. So that's what, like 4 months, 5 months, or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're usually doing, now the episode orders are so much shorter, but let's say you're doing a 10 episode season and you have 20 weeks to do it. So, after that first 2 weeks, usually a pilot has already been sold if this is a first season show. And so you're just kind of like rewriting the pilot, making sure that we ideate the arc of the season with
Mhm.
whatever changes we're making to the pilot. And so we'll start like either rewriting the pilot or we'll start on episode 2. And we start by beating out, we do a beat sheet. Or basically you're doing what's called breaking story, which means like everybody's in the room and we have a whiteboard and we're just literally like pitching the shape of the story. And then after we agree on the shape of the story, we're beating out the story beat by beat. And as we're doing this, we're sending all of this stuff to the executives, to the network. So we're getting feedback on every aspect, on every part of this, from breaking story. So you send like a little synopsis to the network, and then you send a beat sheet to the network, and then you send an outline to the network, and then you send the first draft, and then you have a table read. And like while you're doing all this, you're probably working on episode 3. You probably have a few people from the room, maybe 4 people. I feel like the average room has like 8 writers in a comedy room. You break it in half. They start writing on episode 3. They start ideating. So it's like, as you can see, and then they'll start shooting the pilot. If the pilot's already been shot, they'll either be doing reshoots or they'll be starting to shoot episode 2. And it just goes like that, like a fast moving train. It's like, then like, a group, when episode 2 is done, and another group starts working on episode 4 because the people, now we're doing an episode 3 table read. So it's just like a fast moving train. It moves really fast, and it's very collaborative. The last OG was the only room I worked in where writers were writing whole outlines by themselves. The last OG was honestly really wild. The last OG,
you're like, of all examples, I don't know if that one follows the mold,
because for so many reasons, which was like, they had I think I worked there for season 3. And by season 3, they had already had a third showrunner. So every season they had a new showrunner. So imagine like if the head of the leadership gets changed every single season, that is speaking to some other underlying stuff that's going wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keenan Ivory Waynes, was it Keenan? Yeah, Keenan Ivory Waynes was the showrunner when I was on the show. And Keenan, honestly, I don't think he had run a room in a long time. And he like ran the room in a way that was really not like other showrunners would run it. Basically, everybody was really
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't, because the industry has had such a huge shift from when he was probably running a writer's room. Like it, So like we had this big shift in the industry.
He's not like a normal, he's literally a celebrity. He's not like a normal showrunner who's just there to do the job. Like he literally did whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
Because no one, who's going to check me, boo? Who's going to check me, boo?
Who's going to check me, boo? That's what you get. You hired a celebrity to be your showrunner. Yes. Well, what are you surprised when he's running it however the fuck he wants and doesn't get it? You know what I mean?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, the last just not a good example of normal. It did not run like a normal room. Yeah.
Just to put things in a little broader perspective for our students. So last week we had Nicole Tussaud on, and she is a development executive. So she is the person that Charla would be sending her notes to. And she's like, we send the beat sheet, we send story arc, we send that over to someone like Nicole. And then Nicole is giving notes on it. So Nicole last week told this story about, I forgot the name of the producer. Let's call it selective memory because I may work with him in the future. But she was saying how like he just doesn't take notes anymore because he's so big, so well known, so prolific in the TV industry that he just doesn't take notes anymore. And she's like, it's so obvious. So when your showrunner is like, I'm above this, that definitely sets a very, I don't want to use the word toxic, but it does sort of create an environment.
Yeah, let's use it. I actually think that we should use it. I don't, sometimes I definitely felt like, I'm a little bit removed from the industry at this stage of my life. I've started doing other things. I've questioned whether or not I want to go back to a writer's room very openly, And one of the things that really drove me nuts was how secretive everybody was about some of the toxicity that goes on because, we're so afraid to not get hired again, blah, 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 for obvious reasons. Like any job you're in, you're a little bit more, you're professional.
No,
but
Charla,
to some extent, I was just like, some of this stuff really needs to get nipped in the butt.
I was telling them the other day, I'm like, it's not the NDAs that keep us from talking. Like an NDA is actually very easy to get around. But we like to stay working. Like we police
ourselves. We do. Even amongst my friends, like people don't say everything that's going on. And I'm like, this is what perpetuates a lot of toxicity. And like, to the point where, like, you know, because I come from really professional backgrounds. Like I used to work, like I thought I was going to be in politics for a long time. I worked for Senator Gillibrand in New York City as her staff assistant, lowest on the totem pole, but you know what I mean? Like I interned for the Congressional Black Caucus. Like I come, and I've always had real jobs. And when I went to Hollywood, I was like, this is not a real place. This is not real. There's no real rules. It's absolutely the Wild West. And I was just like, and I kind of feel like a lot of the reason why it's so crazy is because, you know, because most of us want to work. You know, most of us want to work. And that's really what it is. Yeah.
That's really what it is. Now, there are a couple of places that were so toxic that I do not police myself. I will literally tell people, and the show is canceled now or whatever. It was working at the Dr. Phil show. If anyone asks me anything about it, don't do it. Don't do it. Spare yourself, your life, your energy, your whatever. Spare yourself, okay? Because it was a crazy place. He held us hostage on several occasions. And when I say hostage, I mean exactly that.
Or they won't tell you when you can leave, so you have to. No. There's no communication.
Charlotte.
You don't know what's going on. It's nuts. And I heard about Ellen being nuts like 10 years before she got, because everybody talks, you know. But anyway, whatever. Don't pedestalize these people or these places.
I tell people, like, when I say we were held hostage, I don't mean like metaphorically. He locked the doors and told us we couldn't leave until we gave A, B, C, and D information. Like bonkers. So I'm like, I can't hold the line on that. I can't. I'm not going to keep the peace.
Nuts. And they just get to be nuts. And I honestly think it's because not enough Black women are around to be like, stop it.
Thank you. Like, thank you. Stop, thank you. Because I was in that room and I looked at that man and I said, sir, so you're holding me hostage is what you're doing? Yeah. And he was like, well, I think that's dramatic. And I was like, oh, locking the doors?
Well,
locking the doors isn't dramatic? Yeah. I'm going to leave. If I aim towards that door, am I going to get hit by a sniper?
Yeah.
I just want to know. Because I'm going home. No, that place is crazy. The other place is relatively recent, and I do have to be careful a little bit. But it's Mr. Beast. I'm like, don't.
I've not heard good things, and that's from the news, so I can't imagine what's going on.
If it made it to the news, honey, multiply it by 100. Multiply it by 100, which is when people talk about this whole Diddy thing. I'm like, if that made it to the news, multiply it by 100.
Oh my God, Nyasha is like, what did I walk into? I'm sorry.
Sorry, girl. We're talking about the toxicity of the entertainment industry and how we keep the secrets, really, so we can continue working. And you're right. The more removed you get from it, the more you're like, why the hell have I not talked about
actually, I don't want to protect these people. This person was shitty and that work environment was terrible. And for what? The last OG? I'm sorry, but this is not. We're not in a hospital. This is something I said all the time in writers' room.
I'm not curing cancer.
In a serious place. This is a comedy room. It's psych. But some of them are good, but it's just hard to know. Hey, am I going to walk into a decent place or am I not? I don't know. You never know.
Because we don't even talk amongst each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we do police ourselves. And I just explain to people, if you, NDAs are not what's keeping the secrets. So when everyone, like when Twitter is exploding with, oh, that NDA must be good or the NDA expired. I'm like, first of all, they don't expire. Like they're in perpetuity, like whatever. But that's not what keeps us quiet. It really isn't. We
and the thing is, like, when it's good, it's good. Like when I'm in a room, that's fantastic. And, you know, I feel like creatively very satisfied. I feel like I'm around other creative minds. Creatives. Like Grand Crew is an absolute dream. You know, like that is. Nash said this interview is unhinged. I agree, Nash. I was like, are we going to get back
Nash?
To the
You know what, Nash? Don't act like you just got here, okay? Nash, don't act like this ain't every week, okay?
Yeah, but when it's good, it's good. But it's, for me personally, it has been rare. You know what I mean? Like a room like Grand Crew was very rare for me. Other people have had really positive experiences. I have not had as many positive experiences as Grand Crew, but thank God I did have a good one. So
at least you know.
yeah,
At least you
yeah.
know.
When it's good,
Yeah, no. When it's good, it's good. I had I worked Tyra Banks's first talk show. I was so low on the totem pole, like, I just had a blast. Like, I had no real actual responsibility, but I had a blast, and the way she sets the tone of The Office is just fun. Like, we would tape 3 days a week, and on
yeah.
Friday, she would have a photo crew come in and makeup,
Mhm.
and if you wanted to, you could go down there and put a little powder on your face, and you do a full-on photo shoot.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
when
like,
normal
randomly.
people, like when a regular person gets these jobs, it's probably good. They treat their staff really good. They're great communicators, they're great
You love.
leaders, but you don't always have that. I definitely have found that just because someone is really talented as a writer or director doesn't necessarily translate into good leadership, into creating good environments for people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a learned skill. It's a learned skill.
Nash is really going in. This
I know.
tea is piping hot. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We
Charlotte,
are.
just so you know,
Yes.
I block the students sometimes. I will threaten to block them, okay? Because
And you'll get blocked.
and
It
you will
is
be blocked,
unhinged.
okay? They get a little sassy up in here. And I'm like, and blocked. No,
Yeah.
they love it though. They
Yeah.
love the unhingedness. Okay, I'll ask you a more professional question, Charlotte.
Yes.
Once you have a strong concept, what
Yes.
are the key steps to take to refine and package that concept? How do you like that, Nash?
Yeah, I hope you guys like
Nyasha?
these questions. I personally, for me, I'm always my first audience. How do I
Mhm.
refine? I feel like after I like it, then, because I do stand up, because my career started because I put stuff up on YouTube. I love the direct feedback from an audience. So if that means I wrote a joke and I try it at a
I love
show,
that.
or if I made something, I really like. It's one of the things that really frustrated me with television, because I've sold 3 shows. I've sold a sketch show and I've sold 2 television shows. And those never got
Which we
made.
want to talk about that though. We do
Yes,
want to.
and those never got made, and it's one of the reasons why I went back to making my own things, even if it's just making a podcast, just because I get the satisfaction of making something, putting it out, and getting immediate
Mhm.
feedback from real people, and not from like executives who are nitpicking it and trying to figure out if this is going to be, the most widely watched, is this going to be our next hit? Is this going to be something that gets me
Charlotte, that was for
really great
me
stuff off? Yeah.
the fork in the road for me between. Oh, sorry, that was the fork in the road for me between film and TV. I
Yeah.
started out. My very first job in entertainment was working at Ben Stiller's production company,
Oh,
and
very
I
cool.
worked on Meet the Fockers. So I was like, "Oh, this is cool! Like, I'm gonna be working in films."
Yeah.
But then I started working. I got the internship at Dr. Phil, and I was like, "Oh, I did this thing on Tuesday, and it's on air on the following Wednesday." And
Mhm.
I have feedback and I
Yeah.
understand. Like, I was like, "Oh, I like this. I like this
Yeah.
much more than working on something for a year or 6
And not
months
even
and
knowing if
then
it's
going
gonna
into."
come out or not. Yeah.
And then it comes out and it's a flop and the whole
Yeah.
world is like, "Worst movie ever." And you're like,
Yeah.
"I'm
Yes.
sure."
Yes. So I will say that, like, that is the big thing for me in TV versus doing stuff for yourself, is obviously you
Mhm.
have way more control, but obviously TV is more money, it's more status, it's more everything when you're
Yeah.
working on an actual set or in an actual writer's room. But it can sometimes not be creatively fulfilling because of those other reasons, because you're
Yeah.
potentially working in a toxic environment, because you're potentially working on something no one will ever see, or you're potentially working on something you don't care that much about
Care.
creatively because it's not
Yeah.
yours, or it's just not your sensibility.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't
Don't
care.
encourage them to be hinged. Thank you, Laura. So I would say, so for me, that is how, because you asked like, you asked, how do I like execute something? Whatever. You said something.
How
Yeah.
once you have a strong concept,
Yes. Once I have a strong concept.
what are the key steps you take
Yes.
to refine and
Yes.
package? And
Yes.
full transparency, that might have been a chat GPT question.
That's
Just-
okay.
it might
That's
have
all
been.
right. I'm not gonna hate on ChatGPT, but I will say my from the people that I talk to the students that I work with, it is the important part is not holding it back for too long, not being perfectionistic about it for too long, and not being judgmental about it for too long. Like I really feel like after it passed the U test, which I think is the most important test, do you like it? Do you find it funny or moving or whatever you want it to be? After that, it's important to get it out. It's either to get it in front of your friends' hands, either to get the production rolling so that you can put it out in the world and see what the response is. Because I think we only get better at knowing when something is ready and when something is good is after we do it a few times. Like, okay, now I have a better sense. You have to learn, you have to practice, which means that you probably have to fail, and that's okay. Failure is fantastic,
Yeah, I think that is something that this industry has taught me. Taught me two really big things that I carry over into like my regular life is I don't care about hearing the word no. Rejection is like not a thing. I'm like, they said no, I didn't even hear it. I'm gonna ask again. Like, did I hear it? No, I didn't even hear it. We're gonna go to the next place. And then Jalulu. And then that is like my mantra. Like, I'm sorry, it's perfect. And then done is better than perfect. And it took me a very long time to understand that because I was like, no, I like perfect. Why do I have to choose? Why can't it be done and perfect? And then one day it just hit me over the head. I was like, oh, I'm using perfection as the excuse.
Yeah.
Get it out. Just, it's done. Push it out. If it flops, it flops. People who make apps, when I read this, I think some article I was reading and they were like, literally, when someone uploads an app into the app store, it is not done. It just they already know there's going to be version 0.2, version 10.8. Like that's the whole point.
You're not failing, you're not doing stuff. To me, that tells me you're not doing anything. If you're not failing, you're not doing anything. I respect failure more than I respect anything because it means I'm moving. It means I'm trying. It means I'm vulnerable. I put myself out there. I work through whatever perfectionism, fear, or whatever self-doubt, like all of it. There's so much that goes into putting yourself out there. So if you're not failing, you're not doing anything, you're not trying. You're not trying. I say to everybody at the end of every podcast episode, get to work. Get to work.
Yeah, first of all, I didn't know this was going to be a motivational speech for me today. So thank you. Thank you for the therapy session in our unhinged podcast episode. Absolutely unhinged. But no, you get to work. Like, you just got to do it. I stand by the motto of like, when people are always like, I want no regrets in life. I was like, no, I have all the regrets. You know why? Because there's certain things that just didn't work out. I wish they would have. I regret that they didn't. I don't regret doing them because in order for the next thing to have happened, I had to go through that. So, have a life of regret. It's fine, but make it be, I did this thing, I failed, that was embarrassing, and then I did this other thing and it was fantastic. I learned from this. Like, just failure is fine. It's just a comma. It's not a period. Just anyways.
I hope we answered some questions for real.
We have Charla, let me tell you. Is it unhinged as we appear? As unhinged as we appear?
Yeah.
Yes. They love it and they are learning.
Guys, tell us if there's actually a question that I can answer because I feel like
no, there's some good ones in here. There are some good ones. Okay. I think I don't see. So Anita is in here. Anita will find us some good questions. She's been like popping stuff up there and I'm like, we don't like that one, but we do like this one. I know someone asked a question about financing.
Yes.
I feel like That's always
Yes, I
interesting.
financed it by myself. But as I was saying earlier in the conversation, I wish that I had been better at asking for money. I really struggle to ask for help in any way, and money is one of them. That's a block that I got to work through with my own, my own
Yeah.
stuff. I think it was good that I just did it without asking for money, because that meant that it was going to take more time. And like when I was making Clench and Release, my first one, urgency for me was, I just had a real sense of urgency. I was talking about that earlier before too, because I was really trying to get out my job. I was really trying to make this thing and get myself to the next level. So it wasn't a good time for me to like sit there and try to raise money. Like I felt like I was asking people to pay me to practice. So I had that embarrassment too, because it was my first thing. I hadn't made anything before. I was transitioning to a new career. So I basically was like too embarrassed to ask people to believe in me. So take that how you want.
Charla, come talk to me. Come talk to me.
I believe in myself, you know what I mean? Because I did it. But I was like, I was so, and I'm also Caribbean. Like, we don't be asking for money like that. Like, I was so embarrassed to ask for money.
Come talk to me. Come talk to me. Okay.
Yeah. If it makes sense to you. I spent $2,000 on the first season of Clench and Release. I did it guerrilla style.
$2,000?
Yeah.
Girl.
It was for like the food to feed the crew. It was like for editing. I paid for some music. I paid for the animation. Like, so it was like that kind of stuff that cost money. None of the actors got paid any money. Like, I couldn't pay my rent that month. This was like 10 years ago. I've since recouped it, and it was absolutely worth the money. But I was also in my 20s. Baby girl is close to, I'm close to 40 now. And there's certain things I would do in my 20s that I won't do now, because that was just a different life stage for me. So I think it's the life stage that you're at. It's the skill level that you're at. And I also felt like I didn't want anybody to really know what I was doing, frankly, honestly. So
I can understand that.
Yeah.
But next time, just come to me, because I have no problem.
Well, I will now, because I don't. And when if I make another episode of Witchersters, I don't want to pay that kind of money for it again. No,
just call me. I literally am like, knock, knock, knock. So here's what I need. Okay. Yeah. I don't have all the details yet, but this is what I need. Like, that's how comfortable I am. They're like, well, do you have a pitch deck? I was like, no. Let me explain to you. This is what it is. This is what I need.
I'm not as confident still as Jillian.
Okay.
Is it Jilly or Jillian?
Jillian. Unhinged. Okay. No, it's Jillian, but a nickname of mine is Jilly. So a lot of people call me Jilly or Jilly Willy, but it's Jillian. No, I don't know where this confidence came from. I don't know why, because I can't ask. Like, they laugh at me a lot because part of the class, there's a guidebook that goes with it. And I'm always like, you guys go purchase the guidebook. Sorry, like just go buy it. Like, I'm like that. But you get me in a room with people that I know have money. I'm like, yo, what we talking about?
Some people are good. Like, I have friends who are good at asking for money. I honestly feel like it's a skill, and
delusion.
And yeah, part of the skill is just gumption. It's just like fucking balls. Just
every time. I don't care. Every time, like, this is what I need. Can you get it? No,
I'm getting there.
What about him? What about
I'm getting there? I'm getting there.
Yeah. Just talk to me next time. I will give you my delusional energy. I will.
Every year I give less fucks. So that's every year my fucks. Just, you know what I mean? And I'm here for it. So don't worry. Next year you'll probably see me asking everybody for money. I'll be like, everybody cash at me. Serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh wait, I think let's look at this question. How do you stay motivated and encouraged to create in a time where networks are being hesitant to take on new projects and concepts?
Again, I talked about this early in this thing about how I don't feel like I'm really choosing to be a creator. I've honestly tried to leave the industry. I tried to like stop this madness, but I'll get an idea and I'll be like, I have to make this. It's not that it's genuinely, I am inspired, energized by my ideas. I feel like every idea I get is a gift from God. You know what I mean? Like I genuinely feel this is what inspiration is. And it has to come out. And if I don't get it out, you know, Elizabeth Gilbert says this, like if you don't
go to somebody else.
It'll go to somebody else.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
somebody else.
Like I feel an actual responsibility to get this idea out once I get it, because I feel like I don't get ideas like or good ones all willy-nilly. That's not true. I get a lot of good ideas. The point of the matter is,
I was gonna say, Charla, no, like you're a creative. Yeah. I'm sure the ideas come.
And I did not choose. So I would say that yes, it is difficult to stay motivated in this climate of the world in general, I feel. But I also feel like my creative work nurtures me, you know, in a way that like other work doesn't always feel like it does. And I feel like part of it is just doing it. Part of it is just doing it not necessarily for any kind of commercial, like not doing it to sell it, not doing it to whatever, just doing it to do it. And that's not always possible for everybody. You know what I mean? It's barely possible for me at this point, but it's just like, yeah, like I would say that like whenever I do lose motivation, whenever I do get really tired, I really honor that. I respect that. I rest. Yeah. I take a step back. I don't, you know, I've taken long breaks from stand-up, long breaks from the writer's room. Like I've started to really respect the seasons that I'm in. And I think that that's okay, you know?
I think so. Yeah, I agree. I feel like you might be on the same like trajectory path here. Yeah, because I again, they make fun of me because I say I'm in rural Virginia right now. Because I was like, after I worked for who I like to call the Antichrist, and then that had me in the middle of Greenville, North Carolina, which is like 2 apartment complexes and a farm. And I was like, how the hell did I end up here? Why am I here? What is happening? And then I was like, I could leave here and go back to New York, or I could just hop over 2 hours where my family is and just plant myself here for a second and figure out like where I am in this. Cause I feel a little topsy-turvy a little bit. So I'm respecting that this is the season I'm in. And I'm just like, you know, whatever, nothing's going anywhere. Ideas come all the time. There's a plethora of them. I will get moving when I feel like it, and just respecting like this is the season. Okay, I love this question. When you write for comedy, are you hired because of your comedic style, or do you adapt to the comedic style of the show?
So I love this question because I always feel like so basically when you get hired in a comedy room specifically, and even sometimes not necessarily even a comedy room, you're getting hired for your perspective, for your point of view, for the way that for your, it is really for your comedic style. You know, it is like if somebody's reading your script, or if they're reading, you know, they're watching something that you made and that's what got you in the room. It got you in the room because they were like, oh, I like the way that this person sees the world. I like the way that I like this person's POV. I want that POV in my writer's room. And that's why it's so important to be original and specific and yourself, because that's literally your goal, because no one else is you. No one else is going to talk like you. No one's going to make the joke like you. No one's going to write like you. And that's your only advantage, because other people are skilled writers as well, you know? So like your advantage is your POV, it's your perspective, and that's what you get hired for sure. And yes, you do have to sort of meld your voice to the show, but that's for any room that you write in. Even if you get hired to write I've gotten hired to like do rewrites on movies. I've gotten hired to write a movie. So it's like you still have to like meld your voice, but you are ultimately getting hired for your voice. So have a strong voice.
I love that. I had a friend, she got hired in a writer's room simply because she was from Chicago, and it was for the show Shy. The Shies are, they're like, oh, you live in Chicago and you're a writer. Okay, great.
You're hired.
Give us some local stuff. How realistic is it for creators to work closely with production throughout the life of the series? I'm going to give this a little context, Charla, a little background. So I am hitting these people over the head, these students of mine, to get them to understand that sometimes when you create a show, you might just walk away from it. Like you create the
Mhm.
show, they might buy it, you're out, and then they have a whole team come in and work it. But they refuse to listen to me, and they have the mindset that the creator will also then be the executive producer or the showrunner and I'm like, no, you have to work that into the contract. That's not a given.
Yeah.
So when they ask questions like that, I like to block them and then answer it. So
Oh, wow, block. Jesus.
yeah, we just
A
block
lot's
them.
going on.
I unblock them later, but
Jilly's Jilly's completely right because Ghosted was a show that I worked on where I was in the second season of the show. In the first season of the show, the creator was in the writer's room and worked there. And I think he like co-show ran potentially. I'm not really sure what the situation was with the creator. In the second season of the show, they ousted the creator. They brought in a new showrunner. They brought in a completely new staff. I was a part of the completely new staff. So and the completely new staff
Yep.
of writers, not a new staff. Like so, like the writer's assistant was from season one, so she felt some type of way because they basically fired all of her friends from all the people all the writers she'd
Yeah.
become friends with. They fired and then the creator would come in like once. He came in like once or twice during the season to but it was obviously weird and awkward because he just gotten fired from his own show because like Fox didn't like the direction of the
Yikes.
show. So they brought in like the old showrunner of The Office, and they fucking tried to make Ghosted more like The Office. It was nuts. Obviously didn't work. Ghosted got
Yeah.
canceled after that, but you actually don't own your show unless you're
Mhm.
someone like Tyler Perry, unless you're somebody like Oprah or like, who has
And even then, working
yeah.
for Oprah, she had to negotiate that. Like she has
Yeah,
to
like you have to
say,
you generally, especially if you're a first time writer or a low level writer, what helps you own your show is if you if you have some sort of pre-existing IP. Like I think the creator of Walking Dead, like it was a comic book before it was an actual show.
mhm,
So he owned the original IP. So they had to like buy that from him or license that from him.
mhm.
I worked on a show called People of Earth, and
Yes.
that person, the creator of that show, was a co-showrunner, but that was that person's first writer's room. They had been a playwright before that. So that was a terrible situation that this person was a co-showrunner and it was their first writer's room and it was their first time in a room and they got and I actually had never seen that before. Usually you do not get this level of control
Mm-mm.
even if it is your idea. So it's like I like to say that when you sell a show, especially as a low-level writer, as a newer writer, you basically become an employee of your own show because you don't own
Yeah.
it. It's not guaranteed that you're going to be the showrunner, like blah 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 blah. Unless you have some sort of like notoriety for yourself. Like I would say Issa Rae, right? Because she had Awkward Black Girl. So she
Yep.
was very clearly the face of Awkward Black Girl, and she got to co-show run with Prentice Penny. But that kind of thing. But I doubt that she would have just been a showrunner by herself. And it was
No.
I think it was the first time it was definitely her first room was her own show, which is again very rare. All of these things are very rare and like amazing if they happen, but not the norm at all. So yeah.
I know they don't want to listen to me, so maybe I'll listen. Maybe
You
I'll
sound
listen
like
to
a
Charla.
mom who's like feels
I am.
unappreciated.
I am. I am.
You're like,
Okay. I
well,
am. The way in which I run this classroom is very much
yeah,
like I'm the mom and I'm
yeah,
trying to learn them something, and sometimes they
yeah.
listen, sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
Whatever.
somebody said even R.R. Martin was unhappy with what they did with the story. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, so R.R. Martin, I'm sure, had some level of IP because that was a book before. This is
Yep.
Lord of the Rings, right? And I'm like, but yeah, sometimes they don't, they might lose some story control, some control
Yeah.
over the story. It's really, it really depends. It really
Yeah,
depends.
I read about this always stuck with me with Harry Potter and
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling's. She has told a story where they were basically going to, I don't know if you're familiar with the series or not, but she basically was going to, they were going to get rid of Dobby the elf from
Okay.
the whole like series
Hmm.
and not bring him out of the book And she had to pull him aside and was like, well, actually, the book I'm currently writing, he has a big role. So you might want to introduce him
Yep.
earlier on. And so even that much control is like unheard
Yeah.
of.
Autumn said, I
Unheard
wrote
of.
one of my novels into a pilot. Very smart, Autumn. Very smart, because this means that you'll have IP because it's your novel. And the fact
Mhm.
that you wrote the pilot means that you've educated yourself about pilot writing, which in itself is a skill. Script writing, which is different from novel writing. Fantastic work. And the fact that you're here means you're educating yourself about the industry. Again, fantastic work, because it'll give you, that's what's going to give you leverage, education. Knowing what
Charla,
the fuck you're talking about is going
are,
to give you
are you talking
leverage.
to Autumn? Are you talking to Autumn?
I'm talking to Autumn, but I'm also talking to everybody and myself. We're always talking about.
Let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you about these novel writers that come into this class, okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all, we're going to do a log line. It's 1 to
Mm-hmm.
2 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in, and as the blades of grass echo from the sun, and I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Don't tell me what the grass looks like in your log line. I don't
TV's not
care.
smart, guys.
It's
TV is about brevity and getting the idea as clear as possible, making it visual.
straightforward.
Like sometimes I feel like executives are like kids with candy. Like you have to be like,
Yeah.
or like bright lights. You have to be like, and this and
Uh,
this. Like, excite
100%. 100%.
them, get them to
100%.
be excited, and like because they're reading a lot of shit, they're reading a lot of scripts, they're seeing a lot of stuff. It's like no one, like, come
Quick
anyway.
and to the point. Quick and to the point. That's why I tell
Witty,
like
is this you said coming in as a low level writer? How do you leverage that to move up in rank? You said that?
I didn't say
Really?
that. Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
my producer also, when she writes
Oh,
in,
okay.
it looks like me.
Yeah.
Anita, why you got me out here looking crazy?
Yeah.
Why you got me out here looking crazy? Just kidding. That's interesting because or I think writers' rooms like moving up. It's not corporate America, so it's not like as cut and dry like that. But
Mhm.
you essentially just be good at your job, come up with your own stuff. I don't know. It's not that cut and dry though. Like there's nothing to leverage other than like. Go ahead, Charla. What were you gonna say?
What's the question? Coming in as a low level writer, how do you leverage that to move up in rank? Like being really good in the room, like speaking up a lot, doing your job really well, knowing what you're talking about, being
Mhm.
interested. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a writer's room and there's like a writer or two who's like on their phone or like just generally not interested. It's usually a man. I'll say that for sure. I've never seen a woman do that. And like, and so it's like, give a shit, be present, contribute, do a good job. And that's your leverage is your reputation. Your leverage is
Oh
um,
yeah.
like, did you show up? Did you work hard? Did you put in the work? Get to work. It's like I honestly feel like it's like anything. It's like any industry. I feel like the fact that TV gets pedestalized or made to be different and special perpetuates this thing of like people allowing themselves to be treated poorly because they get to be in this special different industry. But it's just like it's a corporate industry. Money is king. Like do a good job like you would at any other job. Yes, you do get to be creative. If you get to be creative and you get to be paid well, it's fantastic. um Somebody said, so Ashana said, so what I'm hearing is we have to build a whole production company and work from scratch. Okay. I would say that like I would say that you're like 30% right, Ashana, a little bit. And I'm saying that because I think the industry has changed so much with social media and with the
Yeah.
internet. And I
The
just
barrier to entry is very low right
exactly.
now.
Like I
Yeah.
just feel like even as a stand-up, right? Like when I first started stand-up, social media wasn't around like that. But now I feel like you basically have to kind of become a little bit of your own media company to grow as a stand-up comedian, to get booked on shows, to tour, to sell tickets. Like it's touched every industry and TV is no different. And like it's a huge undertaking to like like literally create your own production company. So I would say that like I think that that's a little bit much, especially if you're a new writer or if you're transitioning into a TV career, I would say the focus should be your skill set, your skill level, like actually writing. Um, Even though AI is there, AI still is not at a point where it can literally take over for an actual, you know,
Writer. Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of like originality, in terms of like blah blah blah. Like I just kind of feel like it's just not in a place yet where I would say that it could take over for a whole writer's room. But yeah, I would say you're 30% right. You're not totally wrong because of the internet and because of social media and because of all this other stuff. But like, I don't think I think it's just so overwhelming to think that right from the beginning that I have to start a whole production company. I think just start first with writing one or two pilots so you have that under
Yeah.
your belt and you feel skilled, and you feel confident that if you got hired, you could write a pilot or you could write a script, because you will have to write a full script. Everybody gets a script in a writer's room if being in a writer's room is what you'd like. Or if you want to be able to sell your work or like get hired to develop shows, blah, 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 whatever. Like your skill level really matters. So, how do you go about licensing your own shows? Oof.
That's why they get blocked, Charlotte.
Tyler Perry licenses his own shows. First, be a Tyler Perry. He owns the means of production. He owns the cameras in the studio, and
Yeah.
he pays the writers, and then he licenses the shows, the horrible shows that he makes to
Charla.
to Amazon,
Charla.
to Netflix. Did
What
you guys
do you
see? What was the word?
mean
Last
horrible?
terrible one.
What do you mean? What do you
Just
mean?
stop it. This is the first time we're meeting, and I love you. By the way,
No, same. I'm like, can we end the live so we can chat a little bit? I wish I could like mute them. I'm like, mute the girl.
hilarious. Own the means of production, and that's when you get to license your show.
We're not sure. That's why sometimes that's why I be wanting to block people, because I'm like, y'all, now
you're too willy-nilly with the blocking.
Oh,
they've done nothing.
Immediately. Mind you, they should block me because I pronounce everybody's name wrong.
Yes.
Every single person's name.
You should
I'm unhinged on everything.
Threatening to block people for asking legitimate questions. These are legitimate questions. And another thing, guys, as a Black woman, I think as Black people, we're a little bit more interested in ownership than the industry is as a whole.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about this on some other thing that I did where I was selling an animated comedy pilot about a Haitian family. I'm Haitian. It's literally a story about my family. And so I really wanted to own it. And so I was asking my white lawyer about owning it. And she literally was looking at me like I was nuts. Like she was just like, you're like, it was like we were speaking two different languages. It honestly was like a non-starter in terms of a conversation. And I didn't understand why. I didn't understand it was because I didn't have the leverage of billions of dollars or millions of dollars. I didn't have the leverage of a celebrity name or like, I'm nobody. I'm just a lowly writer. You know what I mean? Like you can't own your stuff. You don't have IP. You don't have anything. It doesn't matter that it's my family story, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't write a book first. I didn't do a comic book first or whatever. So then I fired her. I got a Black lawyer. The Black lawyer was much more, she didn't talk to me like I was crazy. She actually explained the steps that I would have to do to own. But it was because I think as Black people, we're much more interested in ownership. We've not owned much. Whereas the status quo in the industry is that you don't own the stuff unless you are a Tyler Perry or
but I even have to say, with Tyler Perry, though, it was from scratch, though, because the way he came into the industry, it was just him, homeless in his car, writing.
By the industry, which was why he started doing his own stuff in the first place.
Yes,
and so it was probably rightly rejected because we've seen his stuff. So
Charla,
his stuff was good as a play. Okay,
was it?
Well, I didn't see it, so.
Sure, I'm full transparency. My mother loves Tyler Perry.
I'm sorry.
She has VHSs of the plays. Yeah. Someone holding up a video camera in the theater. My mom has those videos and watches them.
And
And
mind
I
you, I
just
respect Tyler Perry's hustle. I respect
oh,
him like crazy.
oh,
Dive a Mad Black Woman.
got it out the mud.
Absolute
Out the
fan.
mud.
Absolute fan of that one.
Yes. Silence. That one.
Kimberly
Great.
Elise. That's her name, right? Kimberly Elise?
Yes, honey.
Iconic. Everything else?
Iconic.
You know what? Maybe what was the one with Jill Scott in
Oh, Why Did I Get Married?
Why Did I Get Married?
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that.
As well. So not everything.
Have you watched what's the new one he has on Netflix? The
with Kelly Rowland?
No, girl. The one I was shocked was his with Kerry Washington about the postal workers during World War whatever. 688.
I don't know that one at all.
Can I tell you? You know why? You know why? You would not think it was him at all. I think the way they marketed it was to not put him front and center.
Okay.
But it stars Kerry Washington. Let me see. I forgot. I think it's 668 or something.
I don't know.
Let's see. What is
Somebody said, do you think Tyler Perry's material will change if or when his audience shifts? No, I don't think it'll ever change.
His audience isn't going to shift.
His audience hasn't. Clearly, he's not doing it for the audience because we've been complaining. So
no, Charla, he is. He is just niche.
For us?
He is. We're not his audience. We're not his audience.
Your mom's his audience?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately. My mom loves him, but I'm not his audience. I think it's like soap opera-y, just telenovela sort of, but like not campy on purpose. Right. Like, I think that's the difference. If it were campy on purpose, I might be front and center.
Yeah. There's an Atlanta episode where they make fun of Tyler Perry and it is hysterical. Yeah. It's hysterical. So somebody said my mom kept telling me to send myself to Tyler Perry. Like, I want that. Yeah, don't do that. He notoriously doesn't pay people. Notoriously.
Yeah. And you won't get any credit because the end credits will be like, Tyler. Like, no.
He does everything himself, basically. And he hires like people from TikTok and stuff. It's just like, okay. Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. So licensing your own work is
possible.
But we're not at that stage yet.
Writing your own book, creating your own
Which is work. Why I tell, like, this is directly for my students. This is why we talk about establishing IP. So sometimes you can start a podcast like what Anita is doing with her series. She's doing it as a audio podcast, and that's establishing IP. And that could help. Yeah. I don't know, but it also tells networks, whoever, streamers, whoever you want to like pitch it to, that you have an audience, that something's already established. But then it's also your intellectual property already. Yeah. So now they're optioning it or licensing it. There's like different language around it. So that is a way. But for the average, no.
Yeah.
Not Ryan Murphy and Tyler Perry. A Venn diagram. Nasha, what are you talking about? London.
I actually really like Ryan Murphy's stuff, even though he's, his stuff is kind of unhinged as well. But
we don't mind unhinged.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'm trying to see if you guys have any relevant questions, students. Why did I get married? Oh, I really liked Why Did I Get Married, for sure.
Yeah.
But let's see. Do you think Tyler's material will change? We already answered that. I've seen his work. I would like to now unsee his work.
Yeah. It's true. Somebody, Shauna said church people are his audience. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, he's niche. He was niche before niche was cool. Like, do you recommend pitching? Let's do this one. Do you recommend pitching out lesser liked projects and save our good stuff for when we build credibility? Girl, no. What?
Yeah, that's difficult because you don't want to be written off as someone who doesn't pitch well.
But
I always say come with your best stuff
Always.
as much, and always have more than one thing in your back pocket, because as soon as you finish selling one idea, the next thing will be like, what's your next idea? You know? So yeah, come with your best stuff, because
Should I pitch a half-ass show that I don't really like?
don't come for the people
Just
who are
look,
that was a legitimate question.
Charla.
Yeah.
We have an understanding in this class, okay? We have an understanding.
Holy shit.
Literally before we do this, I lecture them. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
first of all show up. Don't have us have an empty stream, okay? That's
Hilarious.
first.
Yes.
Second, have some questions, okay?
Right.
Students, I thought she said stupid for a second. No, you guys are not stupid. I will never call you guys that.
Somebody said, how would you enter the industry if you were starting today?
Oh, I asked that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think that's a good question too. I think for me, if I were entering the industry now, I mean, assuming I have the same knowledge, I don't know. I would probably try to establish my own stuff. I would probably create something that I was passionate about, and I would try to make it happen for myself. Like sort of like the Issa Rae kind of route, just because the barrier to entry is so low right now, and you don't need to pander to networks or streaming services in the way that the keys to the kingdom are sort of available if you're willing to put the hustle in a different kind of way. So I don't know. I mean, I had a very fortunate, very easy path into the industry. Just because I lived in LA, I was in the right place at the right time. I went to a school that had a lot of people involved in a lot of production. My route was easier, but I think if I were starting out now, I would probably just write and create my own stuff and just spend my 20s grinding and see where it got me.
Yeah, I would, everybody's trajectory and career is so unique to them and where they are and what they want to do. Me personally, I feel like if I was starting today, I would primarily build an audience. I would build a YouTube following. I would build a social media following. Yeah. I still struggle with social media. I struggle to care about it. I struggle to I struggle to care about it, which is why I'm really pivoting towards YouTube and building that, because that I enjoy actually making videos and uploading them and getting the feedback. But social media, not so much. So, but I do feel like we're in a different, landscape where as creators, for me personally, because I'm also a performer, I'm also, and not only a writer, like I would double down on building my YouTube and building my social media presence, because I feel like it gives you so much more leverage these days in a way that is kind of upsetting, but also a little bit empowering if it is. I feel like if it is not your strong suit, then you are at a disadvantage. But if you are good at it, then you are at an advantage, if that makes sense, When should you give up on an idea? When you don't give a shit about it anymore.
Honey. If you don't care, we don't care. Okay? If you don't care, we don't care. People always, I see this commentary on social media a lot when they're like, if you're a producer, right, she's a producer. She only has 1,000 followers. And I'm like, yeah, right, she's a writer for such and such show. She only has 1,000 followers on some social media site. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how that works. That's usually how that works. Yeah. Some of us just luck out and get a following. I'm obsessed with social media, so that has helped. But wait, what was that question? I missed it. How am I going to produce my stuff? I'm broke.
What advice do you have for creating publicity for your IP versus marketing it?
Is that the same thing?
What advice do you have for creating publicity?
Is this from Anita?
Yeah.
This is an Anita question, which means, to give it context, Anita is brilliant. Anita writes a lot. She has tons of ideas, tons of great concepts. And she is actively producing them herself.
Oh, awesome.
So I feel like that context lends a little bit to the question. How, if I have a project that I feel is ready for the public to see, what's the best ways to market that? I believe is what the question is. Am I right, Anita? Let me know.
Yeah. I'm a big I think like again, I do guerrilla marketing. Like I'll get on as many podcasts as I can get on to promote my whatever, promote my show,
Mm-hmm.
promote my work, whatever I'm doing. I do as much. I try to see if I can get written up somewhere. When I was promoting Clench and Release the first time, I got into Glamour. Basically, all I did was see where were people, like where was Awkward Black Girl, where was Broad
Mm-hmm.
City getting written up, and I wrote to those guys. I'm not ashamed. I'm ashamed to ask for money, but I'm not ashamed to ask for publicity to give me a shout out. I do not care.
That
So
Charlotte,
I
I'm the
would do that.
opposite.
Yeah,
That is the opposite for me.
we should work
I
together.
don't like
Yeah,
asking. Yeah.
no, I will ask. I don't care. But yes, I think it's like guerrilla. I think it's also like who is it for? Like Clench and Release, I made it for Black women. I made it for myself. I'm always my first audience, and my audience happens to also be Black women because I think it reflects that. So I got it into the Root. I got it into. I tried to get it into Ebony. Like I don't care. I'll do anything.
I
So
love that.
yeah, I think you should promote it as much as possible. Work with other people who have bigger platforms. Get on podcasts. Like hustle, 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 and push it. Somebody had a question that I thought, what are you currently watching that has really good writing? White Lotus. I love it. I
Ooh, did you
haven't
watch
watched the
have you
third
watched the
season yet.
first episode
I
yet?
watched the first two, have not watched the third season yet, and
Okay.
I can't. I'm kind of waiting.
I strongly support that. I watched the first episode and I was like, I need more. Like I
Yeah,
need where
I
like
always wait now because I'm too Netflixed. Like Netflix has conditioned me to
I
want to
need
watch
3.
multiple episodes.
At least 3 at one time.
Yes. Ashana said, I guess I'm scared of coming with my best stuff because my best stuff is all Black cast, and I could literally see some producer deciding they should be white, especially my main characters. I feel you and I see you. It's just like I think it's about you deciding, like, first to relinquish a little bit of control over this because
Yeah.
there's only so much control that you're going to have. Like you can't literally control the entire process from start to finish to a certain extent. And then also, what if you just never get a chance to make that thing because you held it back and like, you never got to see the process. If something's very precious to you, I say keep it to yourself and make it yourself because that's the only
Yeah.
way that you're going to really have that much control. But if you want to sell it, there is an aspect of it that you're just going to have to like give up to the universe and just be like, all right, let's see, you know. Somebody said, I love Clench and Release so much. Would you bring it back again? I've thought about bringing it back again,
Yes.
sometimes, but I don't know. A bitch is so tired. A bitch has been like really tired lately.
Girl,
Like, I
Charla.
honestly sometimes just want to like disappear into the woods and no one hear from me again. And I think that's fine. I
Charla, we are
don't
on
have
the
the same
same
energy
path.
that I used to have, baby
We are on the
girl.
same path.
It's
We are on
like,
the same
I don't,
path.
I'm shocked I can do anything. I'm like surprised I do anything at all, honestly. So I'm trying to build up
Yeah.
my energy again. Sometimes I think I might,
Do this. Do this.
yeah.
So we're on the same. We're on the same. Baby girl's tired. Okay. We ran hard in the paint for like I'm
A
46.
decade. Ooh, I'm
46.
38,
So 20 years
Yeah.
hard in the paint. And I've worked on
Oh,
high level, like high level.
yeah.
And I'm just like, and again, by the time I got to Mr. Beast, I was like, oh fuck no. Like
Yeah.
I'm too grown for this. Like, no.
Yeah.
But I'm tired. But I made this deal with myself at the top of January. I was like, just go live every day for 14 days. I
Oh,
don't know what
wow.
you're going to say. I don't know what you're going to talk about, but let's just do it. And I ended up talking about TV. People started coming in. They started having questions. I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I realized I have information. I was like, oh, you guys don't know that? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this thing for 20 years. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
stuff that's so not even a thought for me is actually information that people need or want and can. So this revitalized me. I'm still tired. Okay,
Yes,
I'm
we're
still taking naps.
really we're in the same like this. I started doing the exact same thing. I didn't go live, but I've been doing the podcast, and it has revitalized me.
It's
But
so
I'm still
good.
tired.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
still
I
building up my
have the
energy.
energy for this,
Mhm.
and that's where we are. Yeah, no, but it's doing the this like Hillman talk stuff. I just was like, oh wait, so I can grade papers. I can like look at people's work. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I can tell people. It was like I loved it. Is it better to copyright your work before pitching your ideas? Tamron, you know what?
Don't block her, please. Don't.
I'm not gonna block her. But would you like to answer that, Charlotte? Because it will if I do, it'll result in a blocking.
I actually don't even know how to answer that. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are worried about their work being either stolen or not owning their work. The thing is, like, you have to remember that the entertainment industry is basically like a very corporate industry, and
Mhm.
you are an entry level person when you first enter it, and you have to build up your name and your reputation and your clout and your power. You know what I mean? It is the Wild West, but there are like, you know, standard things that happen. And as a new person who is just getting into the industry, you should be focused on getting your feet wet, getting experiences, building up your resume, building up um your reputation as somebody that is good to work with, as somebody who works hard, who is smart, who is engaged. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like copywriting is something that is so not on your radar because, like, if you don't have an actual book, original IP, then even if you copyright it, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what you'd be copywriting. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
So
yeah.
this is what I tell them, and this is why Tamron / Lady Charday should be blocked. Is if you have an idea that you are ready to pitch, if it's in a place where you have a pilot episode, you want to be like, if that's the route you're going, send it to WGA. Just lock
Mhm.
it in their vault. If you
Exactly.
want to
You can do that.
copyright it, go for it.
Yeah.
But you're not stopping someone from stealing your idea. You're just giving yourself leverage if they do, and you can
Yes.
say something.
That's a
Um,
good answer. Yeah.
yeah, but the reality is you don't want to have a scarcity mindset because we're worried about our ideas being stolen because what if that's our only one? What if that's the best one? What if this is our one shot? But ideas flow. You're going to have them. You're going to have more. And shock, you're going to have ideas very similar to other people.
Yeah.
And so if the focus is about it getting stolen, you're going to start to see your stuff stolen. You're going to see it stolen, right? You're going to be like, wait, I had that idea. Did someone steal that from me? And you're
Yeah.
like,
People have,
no,
and the thing is, the way you execute your idea is going to be very different from the way
very
that somebody
different.
else executes your idea. So I would say that, like, people get so scared about their ideas being stolen, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know how to answer that. It's not actually that huge of a, thing. Somebody
Yeah.
asked something that I want to answer because this is one of the things that I do now. So, how do you stop yourself from running for the woods? I care about creation, but the too tired keeps winning out. How do you push past the tired? And here's what, so I'm literally talking about this on my podcast in the next episode. The way that you push back past the tired is by attending to the tired. Attend to yourself, rest, nourish yourself, take the time. I have that sense of urgency for work, but right now I'm in a different season. I'm in a season of
Mhm.
rest, of being like away from people, like not trying so hard to succeed, because I had over a decade of just absolute balls to the walls trying so hard, and I got really far, but I did it in a
Mhm.
way that was not, I didn't care for myself. I put myself on the back burner. Like, I honestly didn't. Like, I was in my 20s and I was much more concerned with making money, with being successful, with climbing the ladder. And I think I paid for that in a lot of ways. And I think I paid for it because I didn't know how to listen to my body and actually respond to my body's needs until I had this horrible burnout that stopped me in my
Yeah.
tracks, and I like literally couldn't work, and it was really difficult. It was really scary, especially as a Black woman. Um And it really changed everything. It has made it so that, like, because when you don't listen to your body will make you listen at a certain
Yeah.
point, which is what happened to me. And so I think if you are at the point where you're tired, honor that, respect that, be respectful of yourself, do what you can. Remember that your productivity is not your worth, you know, even whether or not that's reflected to us in society. The fact of the matter is you are doing your best, you're doing great, you know, rest, babe. Rest, because I'm telling you, nothing is happening while I'm tired. Nothing.
Nothing.
Like,
Nothing.
I can try.
Nothing.
I'll try to go do shows, do stand up. I'll try to go write. I'm tired. It's not happening. And it's only creating resentment. It's creating resentment towards the work because my inner child is screaming, I need rest. And you're forcing me to do this thing for whatever reason. And reasons abound, but I'm just saying, I think we're in the era of nurture yourself, respect your needs, respect your body's needs. Can we rest? Can we realistically rest when we are new to the game, though? If you are tired,
I think you can. I think you can. Now, so you, like Charla was saying, you have to honor that, and it doesn't matter where you are in your career. If you don't honor it, it will force you to stop. Like your body will shut down. You will shut down. The hustle culture, the hustle mentality, like it was needed when it was needed. But I think now we're in a space where we're sort of understanding that if you're running and get a cramp in your leg, you need to stop.
Yes.
Like it's okay to take care and tend to that.
Laura said, I've been attending to the tired for 4 years, though. Laura, there might be something that's making you tired that you're not able to address yet. Maybe you're not able to actually acknowledge that this thing is draining you and making you tired. Or maybe you're not able to leave the situation that's draining you and making you tired. It
also,
might be,
Laura, I would say also make the distinction between tired and fear, because sometimes those no, like sometimes they look the same, right? Like you're afraid of getting through this, pushing through this, and it's fear, but it also can mask itself as exhaustion or I'm tired. So just get clear with yourself. And that's like a conversation you have to have with yourself. I think if you're brand new in the industry and you're tired already, it might be a fear thing. You might have to break through that layer. Because maybe you're tired because what you're working on feels tired. Not that you yourself are tired. You're not excited about what you're doing. You're not passionate about it. So make sure that you're not confusing tired for fear.
Also, Laura, I feel like this is such unique to each person, like this particular thing of exhaustion, blah, 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 tiredness. She said, how do I respond to my body needs when my body needs food and food costs money and you need a job to have money? So now it's a cycle of tiredness. When I was doing Clench and Release, I genuinely feel like I was doing extra human stuff. I feel like I was doing, like I said, I was burning the candle at both ends. And I don't think everyone can do that. And I think I was doing, I was working a full-time job. I was doing stand-up all night. I was creating my web series. I was like, you know what I mean? But I had no children. I had no relationship. I was so focused and zeroed in. You might have to change some things around in your life so that you have some more energy. I'm not sure what that is because I don't know what your specific situation is, but I will say that you're not wrong. We don't live in a system that nourishes us. We live in a system that really exhausts us, and you kind of sometimes have to do extraordinary shit to change your circumstances. And to me, that's what it felt like. I felt like I had to do extraordinary things to change my circumstances, to get myself out of these jobs that I don't like, so that I can pursue my creative work. But I don't think it was easy. I don't think everybody can do it. And I think exhaustion is real. Capitalism is real. And you might have to either make sacrifices or change some shit around to like get that energy that you need. Sometimes you have to be like, sometimes I think you have to be like a fucking, like a monster. Like sometimes I think you have to be like I sacrificed friendships. I didn't go to people's weddings. I didn't give a shit. I was just like, I was the most
It's like
selfish.
you're having a baby? Who cares?
I don't give a shit about your baby. I don't give a shit about your wedding. I'm not going. I don't have any money. I'm putting every dollar I have back into my career. Sometimes you have to be an absolute like monster to get to where you want to. I'm not talking about stepping on other people. I'm talking about making real sacrifices, about zeroing in, about shutting everything else out. It be like that sometime, but it's okay. That's okay if that's what you want, you know. But you know, ooh, Laura's really going in. I'm celiac too, Laura. See, I became celiac in New York while I was hustling. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was really, really tough. Yes, it was really, really tough. Sorry that it turned into Laura therapy. This is such a core to my life. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer. It's so real. It's so real, Laura. It really is. But I honestly relate to you so much, like the physical limitation stuff, the exhaustion, the not coming from a rich family, like literally having student loan debt. Like I literally was like, yeah, sometimes you got to do some superhuman shit. How do you deal with self-doubt, imposter syndrome? Love yourself. Know that you belong in any room that you're in.
Imposter syndrome is so interesting to me. So like I don't have it. I've never had it. But I feel like as a Black woman, I just always know that I wouldn't be in the room if I wasn't twice as good. Like I just always have that energy. So I'm like, no, it's not imposter. Like, what? I'm an imposter? Bitch, I have 7 Emmys. What do you mean? Like, no, what do you mean? I'm not.
My first writer's room was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I felt like a giant imposter in that room. I felt like a giant imposter in that room. And I will say, because it was my first writer's room, and I was working with Tina Fey, and it just felt like I don't belong here. I'm not, you know, I haven't worked hard enough. I also had not written I wrote my first script to interview for that job. Like I had not written a full-length script yet. So I felt really, really out of my depth. I felt really crazy. And that room was really crazy also. Like they also kept us there a long time, never told us when we were leaving and things like that. So a lot was going on in that room. But I will say, had I, and you know, I come from, you know, we all come from whatever backgrounds we come from. I had to really learn how to love myself. And I had to like build confidence. I had a lot of like childhood trauma stuff that really made me, you know, struggle with self-worth. And I think ultimately that imposter syndrome, that self-doubt came from a self-worth thing, you know, like just not thinking I was good enough, not thinking whatever. And had I known that, you know, life's a stage, all the world's a stage, and television is not a serious place. You know, Hollywood is not a serious place. And I belong there because I have, you know, a point of view that is unique and original and a voice that is strong and fucking smart and funny. And that's all I need to belong there. Like, had I had a like, come fuck with me, bitch attitude, like I would have done a lot better. Exactly. And I almost think you need that attitude because you do like being all like small and like not pitching my ideas, not thinking that my voice mattered in the room. It affected my job performance. You know what I mean? And it affected my experience. And all of it was so much of just in my head, overthinking, I don't belong there. I'm not good enough to be there. And it was just like, well, I'm there, bitch. So you better speak up and take up space.
That has been my entire existence. Yeah. I just, there's not a room that I'm in that I don't belong in. I just don't believe that.
Ooh, I love that. There's not a room that I'm in that I don't belong in.
Yeah, I that's why I'm there. So like that, but that was now at 46, that sounds like lovely advice and is like poetic and beautiful. But at 22, it was just like idiot delusion. Like I literally was like, no, I obviously when I interview, I'm going to get the job because I belong here. I love it. And then, which is probably why I can ask people for money. Cause I'm like, why wouldn't you want to back this? Like, this is perfect. But yeah, no, that's probably why I feel the way I do about imposter syndrome, because I just always feel like no one belongs in this room. Like this is all make believe. So like, whatever, we're here. We're here.
It's a big joke.
Yes.
That's how I see TV after 10 years. I'm like, what a big joke. You know, this is not a serious place, and these are not serious people.
It's weird. I was held hostage by a talk show host.
I
Do you
was
know,
also held hostage.
please,
Yeah.
please. This is not a real place. This is not a real place.
Take it off.
No, I took writing classes years ago, like just for funsy. Like I was already like 3 Emmys in, but I was like, let's just go to Second City since I live in
I
Chicago.
love
So
how
I took.
Jenny keeps telling us about her Emmys. She is 7, guys.
Yeah. And I've only mentioned him like 3 or 4 times on this live. Normally, I mention it 7 times.
1 Emmy. Unbelievable.
You worked on some great shit though.
I know it. I don't have a single fucking. I'm pissed actually.
That's how this business works. I tell you all the time. I was the first person in my like group of friends to win an Emmy. I think I was either 28 or 29, and it was the thing. It was like, oh my God. Here, I'm 46. You know what an Emmy does? It holds, it's a nice paperweight. It does not guarantee jobs. It does not guarantee. It's really pretty. And you get to say it on podcasts. Like, that's the extent. But yeah, no, it was such a big deal. But yeah. Anyways, I don't know where I was going that other than to say I've won an Emmy. That's all that conversation was for. But no, TV's not real. Like it's not. Behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, you can't take yourself serious. I think that's part of the formula too. Like you can't take it that seriously. Like you have to show up, work hard, do the work, understand the vision. But it's not brain surgery.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do if and when you have a writers or creators block?
Yeah. I think that's a really good question. I think that again is also unique to different people. You know, for me personally, when I have writer's block, I put my work away because nothing's happening. So, and I try to like tap into like, do I have needs that are unmet currently? Do I need to rest? Do I need, fun? Am I mentally like present enough to like be writing? Or do I just need to put it away for a little bit, come back? Am I forcing it? Because forcing it is another thing that like does not work for me. It doesn't work to force it. So I think it's about like tapping into you as an individual and seeing what works for you. Because I think different people are different. And like, I always think that like, I always have to literally force myself to write anything. I'm an extremely lazy writer. Like most writers are super lazy. And like, I literally need to like, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I don't even know what motivates me sometimes to write something. Like, I straight up need like deadlines. I need like.
I love a deadline.
I love a deadline. It's better if money's on the line. Like I need some to like really motivate me for real, and then I'll do my best writing. But if there's not like, if the stakes are really low, I don't know. Yeah.
See, I'm producer writer, so the producer in me kicks in pretty quickly. But if there's a block for me, I just go live life. Like I have to put it down. I have to go out and do something in the world. The proverbial touch grass. Like I just have to go out and experience. And that's when I'm my most creative. Like in the middle of I don't play tennis. I don't know why I was using that as an example, but like in the middle of doing whatever I'm doing, then I go, oh, I could get in this way. Like that could happen that way. So for me, it's just live life, like go out and experience. That means I'm stuck on the pages too much. But yeah, money is a big motivator. Deadlines are big.
Money.
Yeah. On a talk show, you have to write a new script every 7 days or every 10 days. And it's like day 8 and I'm like, oh, let's open up that script document. They're like, we need to see something in 4 hours. And I'm like, ooh, that page is empty. Let's go in and get that going. How do you deal with like different creative styles or opinions in a writer's room? Oh, that's interesting.
I think the only opinion that matters is ultimately the showrunners. Everybody's going to have different opinions. The funnest writer's room is one where everybody disagrees. Like that can be really fun, but ultimately that's why there is a showrunner, is because their word is the last word. sometimes it's a little bit democratic. Like the thing that made everybody laugh usually wins. The thing that everybody can get on board with usually wins.
Mhm.
If we're, hung up on something. But I would say that so many rooms are so collaborative. And like once you're in a writer's room, you are working with so many different people and work styles, from production, from the actual writers room, from the executives, from the network. Like you're working with so many people that it is super collaborative. And like ultimately the showrunner, and even the showrunner, even after the showrunner makes a decision, they have to get checked by the network and the studio, blah blah blah. So like there's different checks and balances. But yeah, I think it's quite fun to have different creative styles and opinions in a writer's room.
Can I tell you, for talk shows, it's the exact opposite.
Hilarious.
I am
How
the
does anything
writer.
get done?
That's it. It's me on a talk show. It's crazy. I write the script. You can
Yeah.
give input. If I don't like it, it's not going to make it in.
And I'm the showrunner of these talk shows.
We have executive producers, but on a talk show, it's like on a talk show, each role is a little bit more elevated than it would be on a regular show. So like as a producer on a talk show, you are a mini executive producer. Like you run that whole hour. And so I'm not the final say, like the host is always the final say. But if me and the actual executive producer have a differencing of opinion, it doesn't get solved because they say so. It gets solved because the host says so. But like it's not collaborative. Like I got to write it. I bang it out. It happens. The host goes, great, put it in the prompter. And then even during the show, if I feel like something is not coming out right or we need to switch directions, I'm in the control room switching the direction. So it's very not collaborative. So I wonder how I would be in a writer's room. And I'm like, but this is what I wrote, guys.
You'd get on board. You'd get on board.
Maybe. I'm old and tired. I'm old and tired.
Who isn't old and tired? We're all old and tired,
Does it help if you worked with Emmy award-winning shows? I think it all helps. It all doesn't matter. It all matters. It's you, like what you bring to the table, how you market yourself, how you show up in the spaces, really. Okay, so I feel like, Charla, we've taken up a lot of your time.
I've had a blast.
Yes, I love it.
It's hilarious.
I was fishing for that. I was totally fishing for a compliment. Okay, what do we got? What is a genre you'd like to see more new writers tackle?
I always encourage writers. Like one of the things that I regret was not trying to write drama earlier in my career, just because I feel like sticking to comedy, once like comedy shows were not getting bought as often, once like dramas were really picking up, it really limited my ability to interview for different jobs. So it kind of like limited my job opportunities. The more diverse your writing portfolio is, the more diverse your job opportunities are. So if you write a feature, now you can get into features. If you write a drama, now you can, interview for drama writers rooms. If you write a comedy, if you write different stuff, you get to do different stuff. So I feel like I wish I hadn't. Obviously, I'm a lover of comedy, but like I'm capable of writing other things. And so don't pigeonhole yourself into writing one type of thing. And I would say to write what you're interested in, because that's always obvious in the writing, whether or not you're actually interested in what you're writing and know about what you're writing. So not necessarily what I would like to see people tackle, but what you would like to tackle as a creative,
I love that. And that speaks to genres too, like even outside of scripted, because I'm a talk show girl. So like even when I am moving on to other things, a new talk show pops up and my phone rings. They're like, hey, such and such is doing a show. And I'm not going to say no. I mean, now I might, but for the most part, it was always like, yep, I'm available. Yep. Where? Okay, great. But yeah, so it's pigeonholed a little bit, but you can sort of navigate your way out or start diversifying early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Early on. What would you like to do next within the industry? Hmm.
I don't know.
You mean after my nap? No.
Yeah.
After my nap.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
don't
I'm
know.
kind of in I used to be so in like career focused, and I'm a little bit, a bitch is just chilling right now. Like, I'm making my podcast. Like I sometimes I think I might want to make something, but I don't know. Let's see. I'm not worried about it. I'll figure it
No,
out at some point.
I work for, have you heard of Voyage Media?
No.
So they're an incubator production company, which I did not know, but I think it's something good that has come out of the tech bros getting involved in entertainment. But basically, it's people who have ideas, they bring them to this company, and the company goes, okay, we'll set you up with a producer to pitch your idea to, and they'll kind of help you find out if it's viable or not. Right. So then they put them on the phone with me. We go over the idea. I always think everyone's idea is viable. Like, I really am like, you can do it. It may take more work than something else.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then we sort of workshop through it. And then they get off the phone with me. They go back and talk to Voyage Media, and they are like, okay, Jillian says it's fine, and we like the changes. And then they will work with this person to like make it happen on whatever level they can. And I think that that's interesting because, anyways, right now there's this two particular pitches that I'm like, no, I love this. Like, I want to work on this like right now. Right. So that was me in the moment. And now the calls are coming in, and like we're writing the treatments now. We're going through like sitting down with the writers and shaping the story. And it's fun and exciting, but I'm still tired. And I'm still like, I'm excited to do this, but also like if it didn't happen today, I'd be like, oh, whew. Like, whew.
Yeah.
But I don't
Man,
know.
I think there's like a burnout epidemic. I think we're all just like
Exhausted.
exhausted, man. Like, I think what I would like to do, what I'm noticing my interest is towards, is creating my own work, like building up my YouTube. So that's
Yeah.
my immediate goals, and like trying to figure out a way where I can truly work for myself, which is difficult in itself. I feel like it's life is about choosing your hard. Everything is hard. Like
Mhm.
working in the
Mhm.
industry is hard. Working for yourself is hard. Working a regular job is hard. Choose your hard. And I think that's what I would choose, is to work for myself, because that's what I've always wanted. I've always been
Yeah.
somebody who just really wants to work for myself. So that's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
We are on the same, I think we got on the same bus at the same bus
I
stop.
mean, we're the same
Uh,
person. Really. That's
right?
unbelievable.
We're
Yeah.
the same because I I so without getting all the students know this because I talk about this every week. It's like we
Mhm.
have the Emmy conversation and then we have this conversation where I'm like, I worked at a place that shall remain nameless. And it was awful. It was racist. I don't ever want, like, whatever. I ended up leaving that gig and just going, I'm not going to work for a year. I'm just
Mhm.
not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it. And I lasted a whole 2 months with zero effort. Like, I was like, I'm not working. I'm getting up when I feel like it. I'm going to the beach today. I'm doing whatever. I'm not even looking for jobs. And after 2 months just living life, I was inspired to like actually discover what I want to do. And I don't want to work for anyone.
Yeah.
I want to just build my stuff and do my stuffs. And
Mhm.
that's it. That's it. So that's what we're working on. Y'all
Yeah.
with these damn questions. Have the changes in Hollywood forced creatives to shift to become independent? Oh, that's actually a good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no other
Absolutely.
option.
Yes.
There's no other option.
Absolutely.
Um, y'all, I went to go work for Mr. Beast. You guys, come on now.
Yeah.
I would have taken any other option.
Yeah.
Any other option. Um,
So, I would say that the Hollywood mirrors a lot of what's going on in general in the United States, in terms of
mhm.
the workforce, the gigification of a lot of industries. I would say the Hollywood is also one where you used to be able to make a really good living if you became a writer. You could work all year or most of the year. Now
Mhm.
it's like if you even get on a show that, is more than 20 weeks or,
Yeah.
so that's like what, 4 or 5 months or whatever. You
Yeah.
don't know if that show is going to come back. They're reducing episode orders. They've it used to be a job that had a level of stability. I would actually say quite stable,
Yeah.
and now I feel like it is really difficult unless you're like in the top 1% of like or 10% of writers. I don't think I'm in that top 10% of writers, even though I have a really great credits and stuff, but I've also taken an active step back, so that's a
Yeah.
little bit different, but I would say that yeah, I think you are at an
Excuse me.
advantage if you are good with social media. You're at an
Mhm.
advantage if you are someone who is good at producing their own work or even wants to produce their own work. And you're at an advantage if you can diversify. If you're not only a
Yeah.
writer, but you're also like, director, a producer, da, 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 da. Like you really do have to be like a hyphen person and like, yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say what actually works for me, or like the advantage I have, is being so niche. Because talk show producers, it's very incestuous. So like we hire each other, we know who's doing what, when, where, why, and after 20 years, I've literally worked for everyone. Like I've produced for every, you name a talk show, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually did the pilot for that. And I actually helped, like, so when a new talk show arises, and this extends to podcasts too, if a podcast with a notable celebrity is happening, I'm sort of in the calling tree, and that has been the only sort of leverage or advantage. But outside of that, it's like this. It's so the circle is like this.
Yeah.
Um, but yes. Okay, Charlotte, it has been 2 hours and we're
All
gonna
right.
let you go. Okay. But we
Absolute
had
pleasure, guys. Yeah.
no, I had a blast. Okay, an absolute blast. And we need to plug you. Like, where do you want the peoples to go to find you?
Yes. I have a channel called The Working Writer on YouTube, where I talk about industry stuff, where I talk about writing and all this other stuff. I also have another channel, Charla Lauriston, where you can find my web series and my stand-up and things like that. So follow those things. Yeah.
Yay!
Absolute pleasure
Yay!
talking to you guys.
No, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Charlotte. So I'm going to end the live with everybody else, but you and I will stay on for a second.
Okay.
And Anita's still here. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us this Sunday for the live pitch workshop. And we will see you next week for our next one, which is a student doing a live pitch. So we're actually going to workshop something. And then I will see all of our students Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on TikTok. So just pop in the class. Don't forget to do your homework. It's due tonight or you'll be blocked. You'll be blocked. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we are officially stopped.
I love this.
Oh my God, it's so fun.